Alright, let's have a look and see what's on Netflix, okay? So, let's see. Let's go on British films, because British is a genre, apparently. Let's see. Wait a minute. There's the Arkin and Inspector Clouseau film. It's weird. Huge Pink Panther fan, and I've actually never seen this movie, the Alan Arkin one, and I have to say I am kind of interested. I don't expect it to be any good, really, but it is interesting piece. It is an interesting piece of history. I've always found it quite interesting ever since I first discovered it, and yeah, I think I'll finally give in and watch it. Okay. My God, that was fucking awful. Whew. Right. There. Hello guys, Jared here, and I'm going to be doing a rant on the third in the Pink Panther series, which is just called Inspector Clouseau. And this was not directed by Blake Edwards. It didn't star Peter Sellers, and it wasn't composed by Henry Mancini, as all three of those at that same time were working on this film, The Party, which this is such a great film. It's really, really funny, unlike the film I'm reviewing today. But yeah, so the fact that Peter Sellers, Blake Edwards, Henry Mancini were working on that one kind of got in the way of the Mirisch's plans, because Walter Mirisch wanted to make a third Pink Panther movie, but as they were working on that, they couldn't. But instead of just waiting for them to finish making The Party, they decided to make a movie without them. So this movie instead stars Alan Arkin as Inspector Clouseau. It was directed by Bud Yorkin, and it was composed by Ken Thorne. So yes, what did I think of this movie? Yes, it is awful. I mean, I will say positives. I did like the music by Ken Thorne. In the 60s ones, they all had different themes. After this one, all the movies had the same theme from the first film. Probably because the Pink Panther cartoon character becomes so famous at that point. So, but of course, in the first film we had the iconic theme song. Yeah, and then this A Shot in the Dark had. And this third one has a. Yeah, that's quite a good song. I quite like that. And the opening credits were done by DePatie-Freleng Enterprises, and this was the last Pink Panther movie they worked on until Revenge of the Pink Panther 10 years later. And they did the animation for the first film and A Shot in the Dark, but they didn't do Return or Pink Panther Strikes Again. And yeah, but main problem is this movie's so boring, and so basically the plot of this is Commissioner Charles Braithwaite, played by Patrick Cargill, asks basically there's been a bunch of bank robberies in England, and you know, Patrick Cargill's character asks Inspector Clouseau to come over to England to solve the cases, and yeah, and one scene that's, you know, just really boring is there's a scene of Clouseau messing around at the airport, which just goes on for too long, and then there's a scene where he's in you know, Charles Braithwaite's office, and he's basically just moving the stuff on his desk, and Clouseau's moving around the room for some reason. It's just, I don't get, why did they think that was funny? It just goes on for way too long, and yeah, and I mean, there was a funny bit, you know, you saw in when they showed a clip before the movie on Netflix. It was when he was lighting you know, Sir Charles's cigar, and he accidentally got basically, when he came to England, he got a bunch of you know, gadgets, and he basically accidentally got out this you know, explosive that's disguised as a lighter. That was quite funny. But there was another similar scene where he was lighting a guy's pipe, but he accidentally got a laser that was disguised as a you know, a lighter. Yeah, that scene was so poorly shot, it just made it not funny. And there was a funny scene where he accidentally plays loud music in a funeral and basically interrupts the funeral. That was quite funny. And but yeah, Alan Arkin was in general just terrible as Clouseau. I mean, yeah, he was basically just shouting at everyone the entire time, and you know, his accent in this was so terrible. And I mean, yeah, and you know, there's just not enough slapstick, and it's just so. And when there is slapstick, like I said before, it's so poorly shot and so poorly timed. You know, it's just not funny. I mean, and what I found interesting was that a lot of things from this movie were actually reused for the Pink Panther Strikes Again. I mean, you have you know, Inspector Clouseau being asked to go to England to you know, solve a case. You have assassins trying to kill Clouseau but end up killing themselves, and you also have the villains disguising themselves as Clouseau. I thought that was interesting that they reused this stuff. And what's interesting is this film is actually a U certificate. It's the only one that is a U rather than a PG. But what is interesting was both Return of the Pink Panther and Pink Panther Strikes Again were both U's when they first came out. But they have since, the BBFC has since you know, changed the rating to a PG certificate, if you can see there. But yeah, that's kind of interesting to know. But yeah, this movie is so dull and so boring, and you know, even though Peter Sellers didn't want to reprise the role of Clouseau ever again, he said he was still very much against them recasting him for a new movie, and you know, I can see why, because this movie, it really is terrible. Yeah, but I'm kind of glad I saw it, because it's always been a movie that I've always been kind of fascinated by ever since I found out about its existence. So yeah, so I'd like to challenge the YouTuber Cinearts to review this. He's reviewed Pink Panther movies as well, and we're both big fans of them, and we've talked in the comments about it. I challenge you to review it, man. Yeah, maybe you might enjoy it more than I did, but it's definitely kind of a fascinating story, and me and him have talked about these two films before, but I'll say it again. If you want to watch another really great Blake Edwards movies, watch The Great Race and The Party. These are such great films by Blake Edwards, you know. And also, speaking of Netflix, there's another Peter Sellers movie on it. They also have A Shot in the Dark on Netflix, but they also have What's New Pussycat on there, and that's a good film, so you should watch that too. Also, I may redo my old review of the original Pink Panther. I've been thinking about that because my old review I think is quite poor, so I might redo that. So yeah, that's all I got to say, and bye. And I forgot to mention, I actually watched this with my dad because he loves the Pink Panther as well, and he's never seen this. He'd never seen this before either, and you know he actually fell asleep within like the first 20 minutes or so. So yeah, that really shows how boring it is, doesn't it?